MuniciPals, it's Ashton and BC here. Tonight we have an interview upcoming with Dr. Scott Mills, a sports chiropractor here in San Francisco. Doc's become a friend. I've actually, funnily enough, not played golf with him, but someone I talk to frequently and hopefully be playing golf with here very soon at Lincoln Park. Shout out to you, Juan. But basically, Doc has a program called the Full Body Golf Fix where really trying to help golfers with kind of, I think he said, mobility, stability, activation, and strengthening. For those of us in San Francisco, there really is no off season per se, even though the 5/12 darkness would tell you otherwise. But for someone like Big C, last weekend it was 38 degrees and sleeting. So knowing we're heading into the theoretical off season, we thought it was a great time to have on Doc, and you'll hear on the pod. I think it's time for me and Chris to do some of this work as well. Chris, that was I found that very enlightening. How about you?
Yes, it's something that I've talked about that I've needed, but I haven't really been able to find the proper median of way to execute.
Yeah, you need a sensei.
And so, what he was telling us through the episode and how it can help us with certain things that both of us are achieving utilizing the same exact program, but in how it'll relate to either one of us is really, really enlightening on different spectrums. And I think that's something that's really important. And I think something that, as all of us are aging, Ashton just entered the 30s and I'm halfway through my 30s. It's something that,
or for Colin Morikawa, his quote last week, he's 25. He's getting super old at 25. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but that's a separate conversation.
With the aging,
it's that live money, that live money's making his back a little tight.
He's getting a little nervous, but it's something that I think we overlook the older we get, because when you're young, you swing freely, you do things that you never think your body is going to deteriorate, and then you hit your 30s and it's a brutal awakening. Things start popping, things start hurting by just getting up in the morning, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't do anything yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, why does my entire body feel stiff? And it's just, like Scott's going to explain in this episode, it's, certain things that you just need to do to maintain, to be able to play this game for a long time. And I think it's a really important note for people to take and run with.
Yeah, and also too, he'll talk about this, but there's also a special promo code for our listeners. I think it's fullbodyfix.com/golf. I think the code is Muni50. Somehow Scott's doing this for $20 a month, which is insanely cheap. Shout out to you, Scott. And if you put in that code, you'll get 50% off the first 3 months, so $30 for the first 3 months to give this a try. But as a natural segue, Chris, there's we mentioned the word off season, two other things we want to talk about. So we're going to be changing the cadence of this podcast, guys. We've loved this. I mean, to be clear, we're not stopping doing this. The big thing that we have both felt is this has become a bit of a slog, especially for Chris, becoming a dad. But it's not even that. I want to take accountability. I think one thing that's, when we started this, we had so many courses we wanted to talk about, so much knowledge from Big C we wanted to impart. But there's something about just like when you are on and it's like, okay, we're gonna, Chris is gonna talk about a golf course that I haven't seen and like how to make it stimulating and invigorating. And to be clear, we're still gonna talk about courses that we play. But we just thought that by going bi-weekly, we're trying to ask ourselves, like, can we put out 26 episodes that we're really proud of a year? Yeah, and I think it's going to be a lot less course reviews unless there's like places that y'all need to know about. You can always DM us asking about, hey, have you played here? Please do that. We're happy to give you, play here, not there, give you those insights. Yeah. But we're going to be going to bi-weekly in the new year.
And guys, if you ever need, any course information, anything like that, please reach out to us. I have course maps and maps of the entire West Coast of places to play we're always going to be a plethora of knowledge when it comes to actual courses and what we would recommend in different areas. And again, like Ashton said, I'm going to reiterate, we're not ending course reviews. We want to give you guys the best absolute product we can possibly put out there. And like Ashton was saying, we feel like, over the, last little bit, there's been some things that we've put out that we feel aren't at the caliber that we want to offer to the listeners. So the only reason we're going bi-weekly is so we can put more time and effort into every episode to give you guys the absolute, possibly best, product we absolutely can. And I think you're going to really hear that in last episode with Dave Mayall. You're going to hear it in this episode with Scott. And we've got a really special one that's going to be going off.
Yeah, no spoilers,
but this one's going to be really good coming into the new year. And kind of segueing into that, guys, we're doing kind of what we did last year. The holidays come around. It gets a little bit more difficult for me and Ashton to be able to sit down and put in an hour to 2 hours to get a pod out. So, and all you listeners are busy doing your own thing, spending time with family, doing the holiday things. So we're going to be taking a break through December. This will be our last pod of the year. So I hope you guys love and enjoy this, and I hope you get really excited for the first week of January, because we're going to have a extremely good episode coming out that week that you will not want to miss. And so it's going to be really, really good. It's a guy that I have a privilege to have met in person, and had actually come through my work that I was able to fit golf clubs for, but he is an all-nother entity of the golf landscape, and it's something that I think me and Ashton are both really excited about, because it's someone we look up to in the realm of what we do with the podcast and our love for this game. So I think you guys are going to be really excited for this.
And if you want a little bit of a teaser, Chris used the word landscape. Not a landscaper, but just kind of let that boil over. But last thing, guys, again, we're headed into the off season. Again, that's the little theme here. And the last time we're going to plug to you guys, a lot of the golf I want to play. Envision Golf. I know in Portland it's dark, it's cold, it's rainy. You want to go play some golf. You want to play on a simulator. You ideally want to play on a simulator where there's rough, where there's sand, where there's a bunch of courses, where there's nice people, where there's good drinks. And all of that is Envision Golf. So, Chris, can you hit the people with the promo code one more time? Because, if this isn't a time to go try Envision Golf, especially in the Portland Tiger area, I don't know what you're doing.
So, promo code is MuniciPals. You walk in, you get a free round on your first visit. Second visit, you get $20 off per hour. It is a great deal. It's a wonderful facility. They have league nights on every Tuesday. They have couples nights on Friday. It's a wonderful place to come on Saturdays and Sundays if you're a college football fan, or if you're an NFL fan, to come in and just be able to hit some golf balls, have some fun, but then also root for your favorite team and get a couple drinks in you. It's a wonderful facility. The people that work there are top notch, and they have a great staff of people. So stop in and Envision if you're in the Pacific Northwest, specifically the Portland to Tigert area, and tell them the MuniciPals sent you.
And with that, it feels weird to say this on Thursday, November 10th, but we sincerely hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. We've said this before, but going in the idea of gratitude, I can't believe it's almost been 2 years here. We're so thankful for all of you guys, all of your support. We're coming into the second year of the Cookout in California, the Cookout 2.0 kind of taking place in Oregon, probably some future stuff, travel, and just saying this is continuing to grow, and we really appreciate all of you.
I also want to throw this out there. This is a little surprise for Ashton as well, but we have a couple spots left over for the Cookout that are still available. So if there's any listeners that would love to play in a Ryder Cup style tournament, please DM us. DM us on MuniciPals Golf on Instagram, and let us know if you're in or around or can travel to SoCal. We're always loving to introduce new people to the landscape and to what we're doing outside of the podcast. So if you want to play and enjoy, a fun time with some good people and meet some guys that you might play with on a regular basis, if you guys live in the same area, because there's people coming from all over to play in this. So, reach out to us. We've got a couple spots, and, if we get a lot of responses, maybe we'll do a little raffle and see and pick a couple names out of a hat and do a live Instagram pick for those spots. But
yeah. Or also too, I should probably approve this before, but I can also reach out theoretically to the GM and expand it a little bit. So yeah, if you want to play, hit us up. But again, thank you all so much. We'll see you guys in the new year. And with that, let's have Bryson hit us one more time.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Ashton here with Big C, and with a very special guest, Dr. Scott Mills, or as I just call him, Doc. Doc, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, of course. We thought it was time, because even though you and I both live in San Francisco, and the way I view it is it's always golf season, right? We're lucky enough to be able to play year round.
Fuck you both.
We are sort of headed here. Yeah. Yeah, for Big C, I think on Sunday he texted me, "Fuck you, it's 38 and sleeting," and that's not something we're familiar with. So, but heading into the off season, Doc recently kind of created a program talking about kind of strength, mobility, and I really wanted to kind of dive in so our listeners could really kind of potentially jump on Doc's program and get hit bombs, be more flexible. But we'll get to that first. But Doc, you just kind of want to say hello, kind of introduce yourself, both who you are kind of as a profession, and also we can dive a little bit. We always like to have people talk about state of their golf game, what they're working on, what they're grinding on, a little bit of both.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thanks for the invite. Appreciate getting a chance to talk golf with a couple other sickos. Yes, my name's Dr. Scott Mills. I'm a sports chiropractor here in San Francisco. My background is I actually went to school for athletic training. So I was like the guy on the sidelines with the fanny pack running out onto the field when people got hurt. I did that for about 6 years at a couple different colleges. Got a master's degree in exercise science along the way. But I kind of fell in love with the chiropractic profession through a buddy of mine who had gone on and done that. And went back to school, got my degree, met a girl and headed west. So I'm originally from Western New York, so I am familiar with off-season golf, having grown up near Buffalo or Rochester, if anybody's familiar with that area. Long off-season in that part of the world, and I guess I'll blame that on why I'm still just a mediocre golfer.
Good golf up there, though. Good golf.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, let's see. Rochester's got one of the majors coming up. Is it Oak Hill's got one of the, I think the U.S. Open for the men coming up not too long.
Yeah, and I know there's a couple.
Ross.
I was gonna say a couple other hidden Donald Rosses up in North New York right there too.
Yep. But yeah, state of the golf game. I kind of winced when you asked about that. I played some awesome golf.
I saw on Instagram today. Yeah. You were trying to get a feel. I saw on Instagram today.
Yeah, you guys, I played some of the best golf of my life through the summer, and I see on our itinerary here you're asking about Bandon. Probably the peak of my golf was actually at Bandon. Got really lucky to go with the NLU guys back in April. We got 4 just ridiculously perfect days. It was like 55 and sunny, no wind, just perfect. Played really well through the summer. Got the handicap down to 8.8, I think it was, which is definitely an all-time low for me. Right in time for no laying up club finals, where I basically couldn't find the face of the club. So yeah, we got back in the chamber there with Coach Byron, who I work with here in SF, and working on a new field to try to patch the game back together a little bit.
It's crazy. Like I've had the kind of the driver bugaboos for about 3 years, and it's unbelievable how you go from like literally like 2 rounds ago I played Winchester Country Club, and just like the driver was so on, it felt like I was just invincible. And then I went out to Presidio, my home course, NorCal Golf Guys, topped 3 drivers, hit a couple snap hooks, and shot 94. And as a 6 handicap, that feels like a especially tough scene on my home course. And similar to you, playing tomorrow, and it's going to be like, well, let's see. Optimistic as always, but it's crazy how you can have that feeling and have it go away and vice versa. Crazy. But pretty amazing that you peaked at Bandon. Like, that's what everyone's sort of working for, right? Like us as just normal golfers, like you want to go and have that best golf at a place like that. So that's pretty awesome. And I think you were like, what was it, Rookie of the Year? What was the award that you got on that trip?
Most improved, and that had not that much to do with my golf game, to be completely honest. Someone nominated me because I was basically patching together the guys on the punch bowl greens. So I guess I'll tell this funny story. So I got to play actually with Tron and Cody on trails, and we had this punch bowl event that night, and Cody's walking down with his putter as a cane. And I was like, kind of walked over to him. I was like, what's going on? He's like, Doc, I'm hurting. I was like, oh, lay down, let's see what we can do. So I ended up working on a couple of the guys there on the green, and ended up walking home with the most improved award from that trip, basically for improving their games. Cody won the A flight, by the way.
That's amazing. Well, I guess why don't, forget the order of the rundown.
Sure.
Why don't we kind of start there? Why don't we start off talking a little bit about like what you do day to day, right? Because I want to talk about kind of the golf specific program, but I think also you can also help me, because I feel like I've never been to the chiropractor. I don't really understand, frankly, what you do.
Oh, cool.
I don't like, is it preventative? Is it reactionary? I don't know. I just love for you to give kind of a summary for the day-to-day stuff.
I love that Ashton hasn't. So I grew up with scoliosis. So I've been going to a chiropractor since I was 13 years old.
Okay,
and
cool.
I will vouch to anybody that chiropractic is the real deal. It is probably one of the best medicines when it comes to sports and athletics, and really getting yourself back into shape, because it's incredible. But I'm excited to hear Doc explain kind of his side of things and how he relates to the golf game.
Yeah, thanks for queuing that up. I'll be happy to stand my chosen profession and passion. I absolutely love what I do. So happy to talk about it. Yeah, for me, chiropractic, I kind of boil it down like this. From a musculoskeletal and biomechanical standpoint, your tissues and joints are supposed to move in a certain ranges of motion, in certain ways, in certain sequences. And throughout the course of life, we accumulate stressors, we accumulate injuries, scar tissue, bad movement faults, bad habits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The combination of all those things tends to create often pain patterns, which is oftentimes why people would come in and see somebody like me. But a lot of times it can just be, my posture isn't looking good, or I don't feel like I can put a move on the ball, or whatever your chosen sport might be. So we see everybody from a preventative or proactive standpoint to resolving pain patterns, and then we do that with these guys. I don't know, it's a podcast, but I'm waving my hands because that's what chiropractic is. It's practice by hand. We use a lot of soft tissue work in my practice. So first things first, really good functional evaluation. Make sure we know what we're working on, what things are restricted that we want to move better. Start with the soft tissue work, get those soft tissues working better, break up scar tissue adhesions, whatever it might be, and then move down to the joint level. And that's where people tend to, and it's kind of become in vogue now, to like post adjustment or cracking videos on TikTok and Instagram. But all that is essentially what I said about trying to improve biomechanics at the joint level. And when we do that, we improve soft tissue, we improve joint mechanics, we improve the way the nervous system's communicating to those systems. Pain starts going away. You start moving better. You start performing better.
That's awesome. And is there like Is there like an at-home component as well? So is it more of like if I walked in there and I was like, hey, like, I feel like this might be important. Like, we work together to build like a plan, and it's like, see you regularly, but then also like these sorts of movements or patterns or like daily stretching, or what does that look like?
Yeah. Bringing in from a holistic perspective, we want to equip people with tools and exercises and things that they can do at home to continue the care and hopefully break some of these patterns, right? I mean, especially with the modern work environment, the modern work posture, forward rounded shoulders, necks forward, we're sitting, so our hip flexors are short, our glutes are off. Like all these kind of things that are really working against us, especially in the modern work environment. So we try to, educate and equip our patients with ergonomic evaluation and at-home work. And to be honest, you're kind of queuing me up for where my online moniker even came from, Full Body Fix. That started because I just wanted to equip my patients. This is 2012, I think, with at-home exercises, and I couldn't find ones that I liked on YouTube. So I started making them, started putting them up on YouTube. I email them to my patients, say, do these exercises at home so that when you're supporting your care that you're getting in office. And lo and behold, people not only complied better, but they got better faster. And that's kind of how Full Body Fix started as kind of my online work, both on YouTube and Instagram and eventually other places. So yeah, absolutely. We my goal is not to keep people coming in forever in pain. We want to think, I always kind of use the dentist analogy. You do your at-home flossing and brushing and taking care of your teeth. Every once in a while, you need to go in for a deep clean. That's me, but I do it on the body, on the spine, the muscles, the joints. So yeah, that's kind of our approach.
Yeah, I know when I was playing golf competitively, I was seeing chiropractor probably twice a month. And the big thing for me where it helped me was the at-home regiment that I was sent home with. And a lot of it was band work. It was, wall sitting and, again, posture. There was this vest that I actually was given that would push my shoulders back and get me to stand up straighter. That was another device that my chiropractor had me set up with. And those things are just as important as seeing a chiropractor, but it's also really important to have a chiropractor that can offer you something like that. Because in chiropractic, there's a lot of places like the joint. It's all over the Bay Area where I can hear you right there. Like I can see that So the joint is just a place where like people go in, they crack you in 5 different places and they send you on your way. There's no help. It might give you some temporary relief, but other than that, it's not creating a solution for the problem that you're bringing in.
Yeah, one of the great things about chiropractic is also one of its biggest weaknesses, which is that it is a platform to do a lot of different things. So I have friends who are animal chiropractors, for example. Awesome, right? They love what they do. They're working on, cats, dogs, horses, etc. Friends working with pediatrics, kids cases. Awesome. We get, great results doing that. But unfortunately, that freedom also allows people to be really crappy at their job. And so, not every office is going to have the same experience. What we've tried to do is not tear others down, but, try to talk about what we do really well. We've partnered with a lot of the fitness professionals in the city, work with a lot of gyms. I actually coach part-time a couple days a week at one of the local gyms, making those connections, equipping people not only with, again, on site manual therapy, which is what we do in the office, but getting them and encouraging them to connect with a fitness professional to continue that work and build strength and flexibility, elsewhere. And I think that's, when I say sports chiropractor, that's what I mean. Not only am I, a doctor, I'm also an athlete. I love moving my body, love lifting weights. I love doing all this stuff, coaching, teaching people how to move their bodies. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You're not going to get the same experience at every quote unquote chiropractic office, but it's our job to educate, in our office, what we do well.
Okay, I know this is going to be a meatball, but my mom is a listener, and I have to ask this question because this is what's top of mind. My mom, my whole life, the myth, I believe myth, that she told me was, she never went to the chiropractor because she didn't think she had a problem. And she thought that once she went to the chiropractor, there were like, basically she felt like once you were adjusted, you would need to keep being adjusted, which that's one of the reasons why. I mean, I never had a problem, knock on wood. But like, what do you say to someone like that who's like, oh no, like I feel fine. You know, once I go in, I might need to keep getting adjusted. Or example, your teeth, right? Someone who's like, no, I need to go to the dentist, so my teeth are going to fall out. If somebody's sitting here saying, no, my spine, my joints, everything feels good, I don't need to go in. What would you say to someone like my mom? And like, you know, like, hey, like this is how this could add value.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes, that question, you know, actually it's a common one. I have a blog post on my website. It's actually Chiropractic Mythbusters. That's like, I think that's number 2 or 3 on the list.
Amazing.
So there's a couple of things, the way I would approach that. 1, if you don't want to go, don't go. 2, if you don't have pain, but you're interested in improving the way you move or being proactive and preventative about it, one of the great things about chiropractic and the way we do our intake, the way we do our functional exam, is we can pick out things before they become a problem. And, you know, as you kind of get older, these patterns that your body and your nervous system has been able to hide and cope with and adapt to start losing that ability to adapt, then they start becoming a problem. As far as once you get adjusted, there's somehow some need to get adjusted more or forever. That's just, I don't know how else to say it's false, but it's just not true.
So I have one story which is hilarious. So when I was diagnosed with having scoliosis, my uncle, my dad's brother, is a doctor, and we told him about it. And my dad's been going to chiropractic forever just because he was a roofer, and I mean the strain that you get in that job. It helped him out a lot. So he was leaning into finding me a specialist that would work with kids specializing in scoliosis cases. And we told my uncle that, and him as a doctor told my dad that it would cause onset arthritis when I became older because they were adjusting me at such a young age. And I thought that was, now knowing and being an adult, I look back and like, that's nuts that an actual doctor in another field, you know, is stating things like that about chiropractic.
Yeah, a lot of that angst and goes back to the competition, basically. You know, for a long time, the medical world has had a bit of a monopoly on healthcare, right? Chiropractic's actually been around since 1895, so it's not actually that young. The biggest alternative healthcare provider group out there. But because of that, you're going to get some pushback, right? Because people don't want you in on their turf and taking away potential business. And because of that, there was actually a concerted effort from about the 50s, I mean, even before that, but very concerted and organized effort from the AMA to basically put out misinformation about chiropractic and create a lot of unnecessary angst between professions and across professions. That case was actually settled back in the 80s. It's sort of a famous case if you're a nerd chiropractor, but basically it's called the Wilkes case, where basically the American Medical Association was found guilty of antitrust propaganda. And so that's a lot of kind of the background without getting too deep into the weeds about it, about why there's kind of this traditional, you know, kind of headbutting across medical professions. But I mean, it's just follow the money, basically. It's the reason why that weird stuff happens.
Well, I will tell you, my uncle's in pharmaceutical research, so that tells you a lot about why he has his his views on what he's doing. Because when you have back problems and you go see your normal physician, they give you pain pills. So
sure,
you know, that's that kind of explains a lot there.
Yeah, most of the answers in life are kind of the simple ones.
Yeah.
Well, as a natural segue, you know, again, we're going to talk about kind of Bandon a little bit more later. You know, I said we're heading into the off season, so we have a Bandon trip beginning of March. So we're basically 4 months out, and I would like to not feel like garbage on this trip. I'm sure I will. We'll talk about it. But with that in mind, segue, tell us about the full body golf fix. Okay. What should we be doing over the next 4 months so we don't beat ourselves to a pulp at Bandon Dunes, even though we will? How do we prevent? How do we use this program to help ourselves as much as possible?
Yeah, full body golf fix is kind of, again, the natural evolution of where I've been building toward over the last 8+ years of kind of creating online content and education. Originally, the full body fix actually was kind of my online rehab. I created the YouTube free version, and then I kind of had a more premium version that I created this video series of just kind of teaching people how to mobilize and stabilize their body, basically self-care from a physical standpoint. But the more I kind of got down the rabbit hole with golf and, well, frankly, obsessed and addicted to it, I went on and I got certified in Tilett's Performance Institute, so the TPI, done level 1 and level 2 of that. And, my own personal fitness journey, I did CrossFit for 10 years. I've done some competitive powerlifting, actually. And that sort of opened my eyes up to kind of the pros and cons of actually how to do fitness right for golf. Because I could feel the changes in my own body when I was, doing competitive powerlifting. I was very strong in a certain way that did not translate actually that well to golf. I was, feeling very stiff and not like I couldn't really put a move on the ball, despite being able to, squat 400 pounds or whatever. So, took all that information, basically, long story short, and started doing my own programming at home during COVID. So I decided, you know what, I'm obsessed with golf. I might as well get more specific with my training. Started using some of the principles from TPI, started using some stuff from my background in functional fitness, even functional bodybuilding a little bit too, and started just doing my own programming. And through COVID, did all that. And as I mentioned before, got down to, my best index, felt great, made it through Bandon, all 5 courses, no problem, no pain, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, all those workouts, I basically started, putting them into both written and video format, and created Full Body Golf Fix. So it's a combination of mobility work. So, logical stretching, stability or activation work, which is just trying to get the nervous system firing. And then the foundation of the program is strength work, because frankly, so many golfers just don't know how to move their bodies properly, don't know what to do when it comes to strength, or make the mistakes, that some of us have in the past, which is just doing the wrong kinds of strength. So what I've created there is, basically it's a monthly programming. It changes every month. There's 12 days, so 3 days a week of, mobility, stability, and strength. And to get to and through Bandon, I'd say, do my program.
So as a new father and a guy that's very limited in my time, especially with going back to work here soon, would you recommend, this is a regimen you would say that a guy that is limited in time can just, you were saying 3 days a week? How long would you say the sessions are each day or each time that you have to do it? Is it a really workable system for someone that is limited in their time and trying to still improve in their game and create that flexibility and mobility?
Yeah, absolutely. I built it to be 35 to 40 minute workouts. So they're meant to be done like relatively quickly. I did it that way 3 days a week so that people who have more time and like to do other things can also do those on other days, right? So say if you're doing strength Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but you like to ride the Peloton, or you like to go, for hikes, or you like to go for runs, or you like to power lift, or whatever you like to do, you have those other days during the week to do it. But absolutely just doing 3 days a week, especially if you're coming from doing, are you doing anything right now? From
absolutely
a physical
not.
standpoint?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So 3 days a week of this program would absolutely make a positive change in your fitness.
Ashton,
35 to 40 minutes per session is typically what they take.
So it's a conversation me and Ashton have all the time, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say my game is relatively good for what I can get out of it. I hit 80% of fairways. I averaged 26 putts around. Like I'm a fairly good in those. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So I am fairly good in a lot of aspects. I hit the ball really straight. My issue is all mobility and creating, the turn to be able to get distance. Like I only hit my driver 250, 260 when I'm hitting it really well. And, I'm hitting pitching wedges.
Or if you're on a golf trip in Vegas and you have the wrong driver and you're really stiff, it's more like 210.
Yeah. I hit little floaties the entire time we were in.
It's crazy. Chris and I play. Chris has, I don't know how, like, I'm not going to ask you how much you weigh on a podcast.
Like 260.
Chris is
I'm a
bigger
big boy.
than
There's
me.
a reason why I'm called Big C.
Okay. And I'm like between 165 and 170.
That's why we call you the Snowflake.
30 yards past Chris, 40. Yeah. So it's just kind of crazy. But like, I'm kind of the opposite. Where my journey is a little bit different. Where it's like, I move my body constantly. So like this week, for example, I went on like a 7-mile walk. I just did an hour on the Peloton. Like I'm always moving, but I don't have anything that's specific for golf. And also too, I'm not a member of a gym, so I do a lot of stuff with like bands, and I'm doing like bicep curls, but like, does that actually translate to like my golf game? Like, I don't know exactly. So I'm like at the top percentile as far as moving my body constantly. Yeah. But it's not targeted toward golf. So it's funny, we're almost like the opposite sides of the coin, where Chris isn't doing anything, but this will help him a lot. I do a lot, but not focused on golf. And it sounds like we could both benefit in our own specific ways from your program.
Yeah, you can't take the words out of my mouth. Like, it's just interesting having those two kind of, dichotomies. Chris is, if he did a focused mobility, stability, and strength program, his change is going to be different than yours and at different speeds, but the benefit's still there. It's just in different ways. One thing I wanted to mention about the program too is it's actually designed to be done at home with minimal equipment. So you only need strength bands, one kettlebell of medium weight, and one set of dumbbells at medium weight. That's like the minimum requirements. There's obviously other things that make it go easier. But yeah, I really, try to spend a lot of time thinking about what the average golfer who just needs to do something from a, strength focused standpoint, but with, a little bit of mobility and stability in there too, what they would be most likely to do, limited equipment, 35 to 40 minutes, 3 days a week, right? Well, that sounds doable for 90% of people who want to do it, right? I've had other people say, it's just not enough for me. Like, some people are super hardcore and they want, 5 days a week and like super speeds training. Like, I'm not trying to add like super speed swing training to this program. That's not what I'm about. I'm about people playing better longer. And that just means moving your body better. So yeah, I think, I think it's good for a lot of people. It's not going to be good for everybody, and it's not meant to be. But for you guys, it would be.
Well, it would be interesting. We could almost do again, it's kind of like like Chris and I are yin and yang in so many ways. Like left-handed, right-handed, no movement, too much movement, not enough. Like, this could be an interesting experiment, like a full body fix MuniciPals collab, where it's like, what happens in 4 months between Big C and Ashton, and how does kind of we change in different ways. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the goal for Ashton would be to put about 15 pounds of muscle on you, and then for
you think? Okay, now I'm like taking a therapy session. But you really think I could do that? Because that's the thing. I don't have any muscles. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm pretty lean. Yeah. I don't have any muscles.
Maybe 15's an overreach, but definitely 10.
We don't need to give him any more muscle. Okay. He hits it far enough. He just needs mobility. We don't need to give him muscle.
God, I got to the ghost tree and I just flew the green. Doc has me just. I'm having to lay back with 3-wood because I'm just Icaritoing with the driver on the ghost tree hole.
Yeah, and then Big C gets you moving a little bit better, a little wider turn, maybe a little more ground force, just moving your body better. And that's a lot of it. Is just think about golf and a lot of sports, especially rotational sports, is about creating a kinematic sequence. Is what TPI calls it, right? So from the ground, like if you're in a swivel chair and you lift your legs up and you try to turn, you can't do anything, right? But all in the golf swing, it's all coming from the ground up, and all the way through that body, all the way through the hips, all the way through the arms, down the shaft into the head of the golf club, right? So a lot of times, it is a mobility problem. That's my biggest issue. Like, for as much as I do, I still, I'm fighting old injuries and stiffnesses from past choices. I'm trying to get more, width in the swing right now, which is what Ashton was referencing on my Instagram post. But, for somebody else, it might just be a sequence issue. Maybe their left hip just doesn't turn out of the way. Whatever that might be, we've got some strategies to fix it. And again, the online program's not meant to be an all-encompassing fix, quote unquote. You should be working with somebody. If you're serious about golf, you should be working with somebody, whether it's a swing coach or a personal trainer, somebody that can watch you move in person. Maybe somebody like me, get their hands on there, break up some scar tissue adhesions, fix some, bad motor patterns, and get you playing better golf.
Well, and I actually think that combining your program with the Golf Fix and a swing coach is probably the way to go. And that's what me and Ashton both have. I work with a guy named Ignacio and CERN out here in Oregon, and he works with Brad Merrick out at Carica. And
yeah.
I think those two things really tie together because, like you said, they see your mechanics. And this is actually something Ignacio's been yelling at me for months to start doing is, he's shocked at what I can accomplish with what I have and the little mobility that I create, because I find the center of the face really well. It's just my turn. There's no ground force movement that I'm utilizing at all. It's just
Chris doesn't use his lower body. No. Like, he gets to here, he gets to the top, and I call him like a grizzly bear, like attacking the ball. But it's all like arm. It's like
my whole body. Yeah. My whole body comes into it, and I. Yeah. It's crazy that I can find the center of the face every single time, and it's
pretty nuts. Crazy.
But that ability, and kind of going back to somebody that asked the question about like, is changing the body going to change the golf swing? The swing changes, but the ability to find the center of the club doesn't. I mean, that you don't lose your hand-eye coordination. You don't lose the feel of the club at the bottom of the ball making impact. Like, just because you've got another couple inches in your turn, it does change the timing, and that new timing will change. It will take repetition to adapt to. Yeah. But your ability to find the middle of the club is not going to change just by adding mobility or in other people's cases, strength or mass. Our nervous systems, we don't give them enough credit. They're super adaptable, and in fact, they love adaptation. When they get stagnant, when our bodies get stagnant, that's when things just don't go very good. So adding some new stimulus, allowing the body to adapt, is actually is really beneficial. That's a basic training principle for fitness.
Yeah, and to your point, Doc, the other thing too is like thinking also too about previous stuff. Like the other thing about Chris is like what Chris 2 years ago, Chris tore his hamstring, and so like that's been a part of it too. So I'm sure if Chris is seeing someone in Salem, like that's got to, like, I'm not a rocket scientist. That's got to factor into like mobility when you he tore his hamstring playing golf.
Yeah, I was actually at Hidden Brook.
And he didn't take any time off.
Yeah, I was at Hidden Brook, and I was playing by myself. It was a rainy day. Had a ball sitting on a slope like this, which is my feet were below the ball, and I took a big hybrid whiff at it, and my foot slipped from underneath me, and I felt a pop, and I couldn't stand up. I couldn't move. It was excruciating, and I actually had to like drag myself in the mud to get to my golf cart. I drove the golf cart to my car and just like flopped myself into my car and left the cart in the parking lot, and just called the pro shop on my way home and told them like, hey, I did something. Your golf cart's in the parking lot. Sorry about that. I didn't rehab it the proper way I was supposed to. I got on the course way quicker than I should have. And the issue was my brain then was creating issues with allowing me to utilize my legs to be able to create the force. Yeah. And so that's what I never had an over the top prior to this, this injury. Yeah. Like I actually hit the ball pretty far, and I had like a good, like really good game, and this dropped me dramatically. I went from a 3 handicap down to a 12 when I came back to golf. And I mean, it was a full rebuild. And then I just created these tendencies to be able to band-aid a golf swing together to be able to get back down to a 7.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we need. Again, it sounds good. Like, to be clear, this is not a paid promotion, but it's not. This sounds like exactly what we both need for, again, very different reasons, which is kind of exciting to think about how, if we have you on, in 3 months, like how would we? What would kind of the things we both kind of feel in our own body?
Yeah. I would hope in 3 months you just both kind of learn how to move your bodies better and then add a little bit of strength and mobility. It's really, again, not rocket science. If you're consistent with these things, your body adapts quickly. The way I have, the structure of the program, basically there's a leg day, there's an upper body day, and then there's what I call accessory or golf specific day. Where we do a lot of rotational stability and some other strength work. That's a little more dynamic, some jumping, some plyos, some things like that. But ultimately, what I want to teach people, especially obviously golfers in this case, is just make them more body aware. How do we hip hinge properly? How do we find a squat depth that is suitable for our bodies? How do we rotate bilaterally so that we're not creating a bunch of asymmetries? How do we move our joints in ways that are healthy? And that's all. It's sneakily put into the program, so you don't even necessarily realize it. You're just like, oh, that was a great workout, and it was like, meanwhile, you're doing, unilateral single arm kettlebell raises, which like stack your shoulder in a certain way and make you move your, stabilize your opposite core in a way that it actually really translates, well to life and golf. I wanted to go back to your hamstring real quick though.
Yeah, I have one more. I have a question after that too.
Okay, go ahead. I have it written down though because I want to talk about that before we go.
One thing I had a question about, and it's really big in golf training right now, is speed training. So utilizing speed sticks or the stack system, there's a million of them out there. Integrating that into kind of a system of what you have, what are your thoughts on speed training? Do you see benefit in it, or would you, with just your regimen and daily cardio and outside workout, would that improve it without even needing to do speed training?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on that. One is, I think it really depends on your goals. So if you want to hit the ball farther, you need more speed, period. My program is not a speed specific program, and that wasn't really, it's more general physical preparedness. I want people to move better so they can play longer. But there is some speed and strength integrated into it so that you will pick up. I picked up 10 yards just doing my own programming for about a year. So I guess that's one, n equals 1, but if you're moving better, you have better, you're going to pick up some speed naturally, right? That being said, if someone's goal was to hit bombs and, every stat from all the tour stats, from all the amateur stats says, the further you hit the ball, the lower your handicap's going to be, right? That's just the way the game is. I would say adding a system like stack or the speed sticks or the swing wing or whatever it is that you like would be more of an accessory add-on than really the focus of my program. Yeah. And that's just me, kind of the doctor side of it. Seeing people chasing speed doesn't always end up great for the body, truthfully. Especially if that's the main goal of someone's program and it's not well-rounded. You got the guys in the pros using professionals to add these in smart ways. Well, Bryson aside, there's a reason that guys like Joey D and Dr. Troy down in Dallas, who works with Spieth and Scotty and
Chris
Ryan Palmer
and all those guys.
Yeah, Colby Wayne with the stable and Lexi and JT, like all these pros, like they're not dumb. Like they know the deal, right? Ball farther, shoot, have a shorter wedge in, make more birdies, make more money.
But
for us, for amateurs, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's not my goal. My goal is to play better longer. Like I love this game. I want to be able to play it. I want to be able to play abandon and go home to my job and not feel broken.
Yeah, my big thing too with the speed programs are you can't get what you want out of them if you don't have mobility and flexibility. Because if you're creating little quarter and half swings because you can't get a full rotation and turn, it's almost pointless to do it because you're not getting out of it what they're technically made to do.
Agree. Yeah, they're going to be more effective if you're moving efficiently.
Yeah.
Bottom line, for sure.
Yeah, so integrating with something like your program, I think, is the absolute way to go because I've been utilizing them for a couple months now, and I've definitely seen marginal improvements with it. But again, because of my mobility issues, I'm only going to max myself out to a certain level with doing that sort of thing only. And it's something that I just, because I work in a studio that I have access to a hitting bay, I can step in with my speed sticks and just do my regiment and pop out. But integrating something like this right before I go to work, doing speed sticks at work, I'm sure and I know I would see a drastic improvement in a much quicker time frame than I would just trying to like whip in 15 minutes of speed sticks a day.
And taking it back full circle, kind of the beginning of the conversation was you guys asking about, my profession, what I do in the office. And this is kind of, and the way TPI really envisioned everything, which is to have, your swing coach, have your fitness professional, have your, body worker, or whatever you want to call them, recovery specialist, manual therapist. And those three things kind of coming all together, which takes me back to your hamstring, which is that if you didn't have, if you haven't fully rehabbed that, for example, in your case, this injury, which has created scar tissue, in that soft tissue, we need to get in there, break that up so the movement pattern restores, but also so that you don't have what's called a neurotag, which is your brain telling your body not to go through that movement pattern that still feels dangerous, even though it's healing. So taking all those things together, we work on that manual therapy, get the hamstring moving better. We remove the interference to the nervous system so the motor pattern's moving better, add in that fitness, mobility component, and then your swing coach says, oh, hey, man, you're moving your body so much better. Hey, we can get into this position a lot easier. I can get you in this position even. Oh, you can actually laterally flex to the right. That's cool. let's get you in this better position, and working all those three things together. I mean, if you, again, and this is, golf nerddom, but I mean, this is what the podcast is. That's the ultimate thing is getting those three things moving in harmony.
Beautiful. Thanks. Well, Scott, so people can find it. Where can people find the Full Body Golf Fix? And if you want to share anything about pricing or anything, just so people can throw like, that's interesting. Like, just tell people where they can find it.
Yeah, thanks again for letting me come on and talk about the program. fullbodyfix.com/golf. We'll take you to the sales page. You can kind of watch a video of me talking about it, look at the pricing. The way it is, it's a monthly subscription, so it's $20 a month to get fresh programming every month. Try to keep it affordable. There's an annual.
That's super reasonable. That is not what I expected you to say.
Yeah, no. And there's an annual option, which makes it even cheaper. And for this podcast, I created a special coupon code. Let's go. So I'm going to literally take away all barrier to entry, or anybody can afford this. So MUNI50, MUNI50. half off first 3 months, so $10 a month for the first 3 months.
So
you're telling us for $30, Chris and I can go to bed. We can feel amazing about this goal. No excuse.
Literally taking away the barrier to entry as much as I can.
Doc, you took my money. I'm signing up tonight. So.
Yeah. Okay, good.
You're gonna be feeding the baby, moving your hip laterally, Chris.
Well, she's gonna be doing it with me. I'll just put her out there with me, and we'll get it in together.
So I appreciate that. Yeah, fullbodyfix.com/golf. And if you can follow me on Instagram at fullbodyfix. I'm super active on there. Answer DMs, as long as they're nice. And I'm
putting on 10 pounds, baby. I'm saying it right now. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm putting 10 pounds on.
You'd be so dangerous, man. We're gonna get you there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get you out of here, Doc, a couple just kind of one golf, one non-golf.
Cool.
So, was that your first experience at Bandon when you were with the No Laying Up guys?
It was, yeah, first one.
Yeah, just would love for you to talk about it. Obviously, everyone wants to rate the courses, but also too, I mean, obviously we're going to try to put in the work to make it a great experience, but any tips and tricks, because again, obviously everyone loves it, but I've definitely heard people who are on day 3 are about to jump off, their bodies are just broken or whatever. Yep. They forget socks. Whatever you can share with us to make it a wonderful experience. Amazing. Would be awesome.
Lots of socks, lots of shoe changes between courses. That was a big one. The turf there, if you're not used to super firm turf, I cannot believe how sore my calves were from walking around on that stuff. I was talking to my roommate who had been there before, and I was like, dude, why are my calves sore? But yeah, turf's super firm. So number one tip, socks and shoe changes as much as you can between courses. Number 2, take a caddy if it's your first time, especially. Man, my guy Zach saved me a zillion strokes out there. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you can afford it, add the caddy. Another tip is take some time at the end of each day to do 15 minutes of what I call hotel flow. So I got a video on that. I can send you guys or whatever, but basically it's just, moving your body a little bit at the end of the day to kind of flush some of that lactic acid out to feel a little better the next day. Hydrate a lot. You don't realize it because it's usually cool there, but you can get it sucked out of you, and that will make you feel worse, makes you sleep worse, which will hurt your recovery. So lots of hydration. I mean, the thing that nobody wants to hear, which is don't drink a lot of booze. Super fun recommendation there that no one's going to pay attention to. But yeah, that's one. And then kind of just recovery related. I thought so we got there midday and did preserve first. And I just think that's it's just the best. Just if you can get there, have a half a day, hit some balls, properly stretch, warm up, hit some balls, and go play preserve. Not only is it the best short course I've ever been on, it's a great way to kind of just get the body moving before presumably just going 36 the next couple days. Also, if you can have a day in the middle where you don't do 36, that's also great.
Yeah. I was laughing on mute over here because some of our friends who are sort of local came down, and they just started, we didn't even ask them, but we were on the punch bowl, and they just kept handing us what turned out to be double transfusions.
Yeah.
We only had one day, so we played preserve, did that, and then the next day we had, my first time at Bandon. We're playing Bandon in the morning, sheep in the afternoon, and I woke up and my Whoop recovery score was 1%. I didn't know where my wallet was. Turns out it was in my backpack the whole time. I was too responsible when I came back drunk.
Amazing.
But I definitely had a lot of moments where I was like, this is amazing, but what am I doing? And so I'm going into the perspective of I'm going to have a little cold beer at the end to kind of commemorate, but not going to be hammering the double transfusions because one abandon was a tough scene.
You have to decide what you want out of any golf trip, right? I got really lucky and was in Ireland actually this past summer. The weather was so bad.
What a year for you, Doc. What a year for you.
Probably the best, definitely not to be topped here. But honestly, the weather was so bad. I kind of had to make that, choice at some point, whether it's is it whiskey ginger season or is it trying to grind in, 35 mile an hour winds for a good score? I'm pass the whiskey.
Yeah.
But at Bandon, it was so nice and the crew was so cool. I'm just not going to stay out, till midnight, getting hammered. Just not what I wanted to do, but, teach their own.
Yeah. And so what's your course ranking? I know it's always controversial, but do you have a favorite?
I'm a 1A, 1B guy. I really like trails. something about the vibes there. Now I know, so that we had a good crew from the Pac Northwest too, and they're just kind of like, they're used to like, you know, the pine trees, but there's just something about trails that really got me. It was a spiritual experience back there. Bandon, OG, it's just so fun.
It's really good.
Old Mac for 3 for me. Love the template holes, the ode to CB McDonald's, the whole thing. It's just great out there. That kind of walk as you get up on by the snack shack, and you're just like, wow, it's just awesome out there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Pac Dunes, it's such a great course. I'm not going to technically like fault the course for being a doke ass kicker. I think I actually came back from Ireland with more appreciation for Pac Dunes. When I left Bandon there, I actually kind of hated it. I just thought,
just because is it too hard? That's kind of what I heard. It's like it's hard.
It's just like a little bit. There's like a couple too many middle fingers there for me.
That's a good way to put it.
But then I played Ballybunion, which has a back-to-back par 3 like Pac Dunes does, and has like a stretch where you don't have a par 4 for a while in the middle, and huge dunes everywhere. And I kind of was like, frick, Doak actually did a good job, you know?
Yeah.
And then Sheep was my last round, and I couldn't put a move on the ball. I just, you know, was tired. As much as all I talked about the recovery stuff, you know, at some point the body, you know, is what it is. I'm also 44, not in my youth anymore. Still felt good, but just, you know, you kind of got to that point where you're just like, man, I can't put a move on the ball. So yeah, Sheep I had last / would love to play again.
Yeah,
I think that's something me and Ashton always say is we try not to skew how we like a course based on how we played. And it's so difficult because if you're just miserable out there and you feel like your game isn't going or the weather isn't great, whatever the factors are, it's so hard to wrap your head around how good or bad or however you want to feel about that course.
Agree.
And
no notes.
Yeah, I really loved. You know, I really loved it. Again, I need to get out there, and I've played it twice now. I played it the opening week. We were actually moving to the Bay Area, and my wife's super awesome. She's like, if you can get a tee time out there, we'll stop at Bandon, stay the night, and then finish the drive down in the U-Haul. So we literally pulled into Bandon in the U-Haul. And I played Sheep.
You're such a sicko.
Played Sheep, and then we spent the night in Coos Bay, and then drove down the rest of the way. But yeah, I absolutely love Sheep, but it, in my mind, doesn't really hold up to a lot of the other courses that are out there. I personally have only played 4 of the courses, so you know I can't rank all of them, but in my mind, I mean, the other courses and what you get out of it, Sheep kind of just feels like they were like, we've got this land, let's just figure it out here, and you know, just
because they have all that coastline, and those holes are beautiful. There's stretches where you're just kind of like looking around, and it's a little nondescript, a little, I don't want to say too open for somebody who has a big right miss.
No,
but like it's almost too open, and I don't want to say flat either, but it's kind of like too flat. I don't know. I hate to knock it. It's an amazing piece of property when you're out kind of on that coastline, and that little kind of infinity loop down on the far south end is really cool.
Yeah. The Volcano par 5, what is it, number 12? Like they said that might have been 8, that could have been 18. Like that's like maybe it's about to say one of the best holes on property. Can't say that. But if that's one of the best golf holes I've ever played. I loved that hole.
Yeah. Some really standout holes, and then a few where if you had said the number, I wouldn't remember them. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And
well, Doc,
Bandon's awesome,
Chris, yeah. The full-blown experience would be great. Unfortunately, Chris can't come this time, but we're going to be doing, we're going to be going again.
Anybody that wants to just meet for a couple days, I'm only 4 hours away, so it's easy for me to pop in there. So anybody listening that's headed to Bandon and wants to just needs a guy to be in the group, just let me know. It's not a bad little stretch for me to get out there. And we also need to get out there and see Andre, the owner of Coos. It's been way too long for us checking in with him.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be on Bandon. Just like, have you seen Chris's after Doc handled Chris's hamstring? Do you see the difference? It's gonna be amazing. But Doc, before we get you out here, we're gonna call this mega dork corner.
Yes.
You and I are both absolutely vibing watching Andor, the new Star Wars show.
Oh yeah,
just
oh baby.
I mean, I guess spoilers. If you guys are with us 53 minutes in, congratulations.
Turn it off. We might spoil it.
What are you loving about Andor right now? Because it's incredible. It's forget Star Wars. It's one of the best TV shows ever watched.
Well, so let me just say first, I watched the first 2 episodes and texted a buddy who's a nerd and was like, "Man, this is I think I used the word sloggy, muddled mess. Told at a glacial pace. I actually really did not like the first 2 episodes, but they were setting you up for something, and now." Having gone through 10 episodes, I see by episode 5, I think I texted him back. I was like, I changed my mind. This is the best thing on TV right now. So what I like about it is the nuance, the backstory behind the building of a rebellion. The acting is incredible. The writing is maybe some of the best I think I've ever seen. And episode 10 is, a flawless episode of television. I don't know how spoilery you want to get, but it's just so freaking good. But yeah,
I think the big thing is, and again, I'm someone who I have Kylo Ren tattooed on my left calf, so I'm in. But what you realize about Star Wars is, first of all, being primarily historically a movie medium, is you only get so much time with these characters. Right. And a lot of it, because it's, you only have 2 hours, is a lot of what I've heard described as space Jesus with laser swords, which that's what it is, yes. Right? And that's fucking awesome. We love it.
Sure.
But I think what's so fun about these TV shows, especially Andor, is it doesn't feel like Star Wars in a good way. It actually feels like it's so human. And no, we can talk spoilers. That speech that Luthen gives at the end, where
ridiculous.
It's what the guy's what have you done for the rebellion? Yeah. And he gives Chris this amazing speech where he's basically people will never know my name. I will never have love. I will never have joy. I will never have happiness. I was sitting here oh my God. Liz was she's like, what's going on? I was no, go away. I'm this is the closest thing I have to a spiritual experience. And
something about, he said something I burned my mind into a sunless scape for a world I'll never see, or something. It's just I got to go back and watch it, and I'm fresh off of it. But
well, and then the thing I heard on another podcast that was captivating was all the people we know from the rebellion, especially from the movies. We get to see them win, right? And when Luthen dies, we don't know when that's going to happen. But he'll never know what this. He was one of the dominoes that started, but he'll never know what ultimately happens. And I think that is such a real moment around the things in our life, right? The decisions that you make. Imagine someone being hey, you made that decision and you don't know. When you die, you're not going to know if that thing you set in motion made a difference. Yeah. And that's that's a human, forget Star Wars, forget anything. And that's it kind of makes you pause, and it's holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, they're exploring a lot of deep elements of life, and especially in this, not going to go political, but we'll just say in this political climate that we all kind of feel the stress that we're in. They're exploring these issues, and it happens to be in a Star Wars universe, but that's just a vehicle for telling some really great nuanced stories. I think we should stop. Chris is about to fall asleep on this.
Let's say, Chris, what do you think? What do you think, Chris? What do you think about this?
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to tune in, no matter how much you try to convince me there. I have watched all the movies. It's never really caught my attention fully. It just, I don't know what it is about. I've never been a big sci-fi guy anyways. So it's just never really been in my realm of things that I personally, would like. But hey, I mean, there are some people out there. And the crazy thing with Star Wars is I remember when I was younger, you would go to Barnes & Noble or anything like that, and the amount of different side story books that are written in the Star Wars like median or the world of this entity, it's like they could go on forever. Like there's a million different ways. Like they've already done what the DeLorean.
Well, that's the TV shows. That's the amazing thing they're doing. They're basically taking those books, making them TV shows, and they're not going to stop because they're printing cash.
And people are always going to tune in, and as long as it's a good product, like you guys are saying, because I know you love The Mandalorian as well. So, they're just going to keep pumping them out, and there's a million different characters for them to be able to run with. Yeah. So,
well, and the way they're diving into the nuance of this sort of the early stages of the rebellion, I mean, you could do 2 more seasons of another character in the same way, told from a different perspective.
Well, the thing too is, I remember the video game for N64. I don't know.
Knights of the Old Republic?
I think that's what it was called.
That was like the OG Star Wars. That was like RPG
storyline to it. I mean, they could even make a movie or a TV series just out of that video game storyline as well.
I think they are. I think there's going to be a Knights of the Old Republic TV show.
So,
that'd be amazing.
I mean, they've gone a million different mediums, and they've all been really good. Like, I'm not even a Star Wars fan, but I owned that game and played it because it was so good.
Yeah.
And they've continued to put out good mediums. And I think for you guys being fans, you probably were a little scared when Disney purchased it, because you don't know how Disney's going to, like, what they've done with Marvel. They've fucking just, like, put out bullshit left and right with Marvel and kind of saturated.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't do it for me.
Like it saturated the market with what Marvel was, and the storylines are so much deeper than how they've portrayed it. Because I'm a Marvel guy. I was a comic book kid, and so seeing what Disney's done with it, I've been furious. Like they have not. There's only been a few ones out there. Like Doctor Strange was a really good one. The original Black Panther, I'm a little scared with the second one because, of course, the main character died. So, he's no longer with us. And so I'm a little scared with how that one's going to go. But they've put some good ones out there, but it hasn't been what they've done with the Star Wars series, which I'm sure you guys are pretty proud with how that's turned out with Disney owning it.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some duds. Like, I thought, like, there were moments of Obi-Wan that were good. Obi-Wan was very... But again, the thing is, I just feel... Sounds cheesy, I know. I just feel so lucky to live in a time where, like, we're going to have recurring Star Wars content, right? The fact that, like, Doc and I can play golf and be like, oh, my God. Well, right now, it's like I was telling Liz, Wednesday nights, I've got Tourist Sauce Scandinavia, fried egg, like, playing in the sandhill shit, and Star Wars, and she's like, I love you. You are such a fucking dork. Like, you're watching grown men go on a vacation, grown men play around in the sand, and then space prison. And I'm like just fucking running around the house.
I love that.
So hey, that's what we do. Okay, Doc, one more time, hit the people with the link and the promo code. We'll get out of here.
Yeah. Again, thanks guys for having me on. Been a blast chopping it up with you. fullbodyfix.com/golf, or you can DM me on Instagram at fullbodyfix. Code is MUNI50, MUNI50 for half off your first 3 months. It's $10 a month. Come on over, join the fun. We got a bunch of guys in there and gals getting stronger, moving better, playing longer.
Beautiful. Doc, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.